patenting skills for innovators, law students. The reason I do is I have seen for myself that at the time of plus two, if you compare a Japanese student, an Indian student, and an American student or an European student, American and European come in the same category. I find that the Japanese students are the best. I'm talking about a 17, 18-year-old. The Indian students perform much better than the European and American students in terms of information, comprehension, general arithmetic, general knowledge, everything. But when they go to 4 years in college, when they finish the education, an American graduate or a European graduate are 3 times more skilled than an Indian graduate. That is really the problem. That is why we have been saying that India is a country of graduated, unskilled people. You understand? That is the problem of the Indian education, actually. So I always think that now, in fact, Mr. Modi has come up with a skill development program. I'm not a BJP person. I may vote for a candidate, that's another issue. But having said that, let me tell you what we lack in our university education system is that we focus a lot on theory, section numbers, cases, and very many times the citation is used. Even in moot courts, I have known. They'll cite a case and I'll ask them what are the facts of the case, they'll not know. Because they have only copied the ratio decidendi of the case and simply reproduced that. Actually, these are all what I call as some of the things that will lead to unlearn and focus more on skills actually. Because when you are talking about a problem solving question, the focus is more on your ability to solve a problem. For you to solve a problem, you need to have skills actually. I'll have one more digression and then go into the case. When I was a law student, in Reader's Digest, there will be something called Word Power Made Easy. I think they still have it actually. And we had some very knowledgeable friends with me in my room. And most guys will score about 16 to 18 out of 20. I can never get past 12 to 14 actually. But when it comes to speaking, I could communicate more effectively than the guys who were scoring anywhere between 16 to 18. So it's not so much how much you know. It is actually about how much you are able to apply in a real life situation to solve the problem. Now, with this brief introduction, let me get on to this session number 2. I think I talked about the first wisecrack. In my last class, I skip it. The second wisecrack is patent is a license to a lawsuit. What can you do if you have a patent? Well, if somebody infringes your patent, you can sue them. That's not a nice proposition for many Indians. In my language, Tamil, there is a proverb that says, don't go behind a donkey or in front of a court. In Kannada, where I stay now, there is another proverb that says, the guy who goes to the court and wins had actually lost. The guy who goes to the court and loses is as bad as dead actually. Okay. That's how they say that in Kannada actually. Now this is a bad attitude for patenting. You understand? If you have a patent, you must be willing to sue. Sue them aggressively. Anyway, 3. Owning a patent is like owning an elephant. This is my original quote here. He did that actually. Now, if you have to own a patent, it's all right. It's very expensive. I'll talk about that little later. But owning an elephant means, according to the Forest Department of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, elephant needs to be fed 8 kilos of rice boiled, 3 kilos of legumes, 2 kilos of jaggery, and they add a lot of mineral supplements to that. Over and above, you have to give it 250 kilos of vegetation. Okay, you need two helpers, and you need a parking space of about 2,500 square feet actually. I mean, our houses are smaller than that. So unless you have all these things, you cannot really own an elephant. All right. Now, what is the criteria for patenting? The criteria for patenting is novelty. This is what I call as Nunn's test actually, patentability. It is very much there in the syllabi. Okay. Novelty, Nunn's. This is the Nunn's test. Please understand this. N for novelty, U for utility, N for non-obviousness, S for statutory subject matter. Novelty is lost in three situations. One is prior publication, second is prior patenting, third is prior public use. Okay. What is prior publication? Earlier, many government departments had money for research. They had no money for patenting. I told you, owning a patent is like owning an elephant. You don't have money for that. So what do? You publish all your conclusions in a research article. Now, if something has been disclosed in a research article, nobody can take a patent in respect of it later. The second situation is prior patenting. What do you mean by prior patenting? What do you think as your invention? Somebody else had already thought about it and asked a patent for it, and the governments have granted. So even though you arrive at the same invention later, because someone has already got a patent for it, there is no more novelty. Third is prior public use. This means if the product embodying the technology or if the product embodies the technology that you are seeking to patent is available in the market. Nobody knows how the mobile works, right? And when you are talking about a mobile phone, you are talking about 60 to 70 patent. Camera has about 2 or 3 patent. Recorder will have 1 or 2 patent. GPS will have 1 or 2 patent. Map will have 1 or 2 patent. Lot of patenting. Now you don't even know how these things work. But 1 out of a million fellow will do what is known as the reverse engineering. Japanese or Chinese are very good at it. Okay. They have to see a product. They will break the product, understand every part, every performance, and they will come up something better than what was there. That is how actually the automobile technology is not a Japanese technology. It is originally a German technology, improved substantially by Americans, but in 21st century today, the Japanese cars are the best cars. You may not like it. There will be a lot of people who still say Volkswagen, Audi, Benz are the best cars, but for a common man, nothing like a Maruti 800. Even Sachin Tendulkar said that actually. Okay, so what I am trying to tell you is that if you put a product in the market, 1 in a million will understand how the product works actually. Okay. Now even that will anticipate. That is what is called as in patent law. Loss of novelty is described by the expression. Loss of novelty is expressed by the word anticipation. If the technology in question is anticipated, there is no novelty. Then, what is utility? Utility means capable of industrial application. What is that industrial application? Subject to NTP. You can also use the word STP. NTP means normal temperature and pressure. STP means standard temperature and pressure. Subject to NTP, an industrial process will have to yield the same result every time. I used to say, it's not like Sachin Tendulkar batting. You understand what I'm saying? You pitch a ball outside the off stick to him. First ball, he will hit it in the cover. Second ball, he will hit it in the mid wicket. Third ball, he will hit it in the over deep threat man. So he doesn't play the same ball, he'll have different shot. That's not an industrial process. Even though he scores regularly, reliably, like an industrial process. Actually, then non-obviousness. This is very, very important. It is also known as inventive step. Okay. Inventive step is nothing but a synonym of non-obviousness. This expression has been defined under the Indian Patent Act itself by the newly introduced amendment. Non-obviousness involves a technical advance. What do you mean by technical advance? When your great-grandfather went from his village to the town, he traveled by a bullock cart. Okay. Your grandfather probably used a cycle. Your father used a motorcycle. And your father probably used a car which used petrol. Today, you use a car which runs on batteries, in many cars nowadays actually. Your son will probably drive a hydrogen fuel car, that's called as a fuel cell. So each one I talked about here involves a technical advance. Economic significance. What do you mean by that? Actually, when I was a young boy, nobody will lend your pen. If the pen is given, it is given with an understanding that is, it is returned back to you. Isn't it? Now, when I go to classes and all that, I keep a cheap pen. If somebody doesn't have a pen, I give it and don't bother to get that back. And even that person doesn't bother that he should give you back. Because the economic significance of the pen is nothing. Okay? For example, 20 years ago, people will not like if you make free calls from their phone. Each phone was costing 1 rupee when the salary was just about 500 rupee. Now you give your phone or even to a stranger because you have paid for the month and you are not going to be charged for each call. That's what I mean by saying what is the importance of economic significance in patenting. 3. Involves a feature which is not obvious to a person skilled in the art. Okay. See, a person skilled in the art will be able to find a solution to a technical problem with reasonable trial and experimentation. Okay. If he is able to arrive at that, then there is no inventive step actually. All right. Now, the most important thing is patenting subject matter, statutory subject matter. Section 3. This differs from country to country. The first 3 criteria, novelty, utility, non-obviousness, it's more or less the same around the world. But if you are talking about this, okay, statutory subject matter, it changes from country to country. Okay. Now, invention disclosure, do's and don'ts. You know, where we are talking about the patenting procedure means it begins with an invention disclosure. Then I'll talk about specification, then I'll talk about the Indian Patent Office procedure. First thing is, be a Westerner and not an Indian. Second thing is, written documents are better than verbal explanation and discussion. In this connection, I must recall an incident when I was a student of Madras University. I was a student under Professor Ramarao. I used to discuss with him my research designs. He'll always tell me, hey, give it in writing. And I'm not one to give it up so easily like that. Sir, you are not speaking like a professor. You are speaking like a bureaucrat. So why should I give you in writing? I am talking to you my proposal. Then he used to say, after looking at me intently in my eyes, Mr. Muralidharan, you managed to speak some nonsense. You managed to speak some sense out of nonsense. But when you start writing sense, it becomes nonsense. I've never forgotten that yet. And I always tell it to my students actually. Though I'm not so, what do you call, knowledgeable and virtuous as he was. Okay. Professor T.S. Ramarao, I remember you today. You are dead and gone. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we all like to talk here. Talk. Like to hear our voice. Like I'm doing now. But when I try to put that into a PowerPoint, when I see the mistake subsequently, the mistake laughs at me. So I want all of you to pick up better documentation skills. Okay. Now, most important is patent law is all about specification and claim. We'll discuss the specification and claims little later. Two, what is not explicitly claimed, it is implicitly disclaimed. These are all the other technicalities involved. Claim is the scope of monopoly. Patent protection is considered to be the best of the IPR protection because it enables the patent holder to define the scope of the patent monopoly. So, therefore, it is for you to write a good patent. In fact, the patent of the Wilbur Wright and Albert Wright, who took the first patent for aeroplane, they are classic instances of how not to write a claim. Okay. With the claims, if we had gone to court, those claims would have been revoked. But luckily, nobody else was in a position to replicate their invention for a long time. So, Wilbur and Albert Wright didn't have to file patent disclosure suit. And patent is a quid pro quo for disclosure. Okay. Now, how to make the disclosure? Hey, this is very, very important for practitioners and even for an academic. It is very important because this gives you an idea of how to present. Even when you write a research proposal, right? You follow these things here. You will by and large will be with a good research proposal. You have about 8 parts in an invention disclosure. Number 1, title. Okay. You remember even when I began the contract, I said nomenclature of the contract, title. That's important. We always don't give much of importance to it. I will further say title must be easy to remember, easy to pronounce. Title should not normally exceed 1 line. But I have seen patent specification with 6 or 7 lines, having something like about 150 words. That's not the best way, but I do see that around actually. Then, title must be able to throw some light on the area of invention. These are the 3 checklists for your title. The second is area of invention. I don't know how many of you have read a patent specification. I'm sure Priya would have read that. Except her, not many would have read a patent specification or seen it. I recommend that you do it when you are free, not after the UGC exam. Okay. Actually, reading a patent specification is the most boring thing in the world here. Let me tell you that. It's not like reading a novel. Okay. It's a very boring thing. And by the time you finish the first page, you don't want to go to the next page, you take some other job actually. Now, who reads your patent specification is another question. First, You write it. It is read by an examiner in the patent office. After the examiner, it is seen by the controller who decides whether he should accept the recommendation of the examiner and grant you a patent. And after the controller, it will be read by a venture capitalist who wants to take equity in your company and invest in your company for the purpose of making the invention into a commercial reality. He is what you call as a venture capitalist. And then there is a next fellow called a lending banker. Okay. State Bank, Yes Bank, HDFC, all these characters. These two are bankers. First is an investment banker, next is a lending banker. Then the other fellow who will read is the regulator, Government of India, Ministry of Drug Control or whatever, okay, if it's a drug patent. After the regulator, it will be read by the judge if you file an infringement case. Mind you, of the 7 people who are going to read the patent specification, only 3 are technical people. In that 3, the controller is only half technical. So the patent specification is more likely to be read by non-technical people than technical people, and therefore you must ensure that patent is easy to read. Okay, the area of invention. Usually I ask them to write about 1 or 2 paragraphs, 1 page, maybe about 200 words. Okay. Then what you should focus on is the status of prior art. Prior art in patent parlance mean that the body of knowledge available to humanity in the area of technology where you are seeking to patent. The prior art can be seen by prior patent, prior publication, prior public use. That's what we said. The same criteria by which makes you lose novelty becomes what is not novel becomes part of the prior art actually. That is how you should understand. Now, in this area of prior art, you discuss pre-publications, existing patents, and existing products in the market, and this is also 1 page actually. Okay. The third is problems with the prior art. Sorry, fourth is the problems with prior art. A mobile phone has many functions. Okay. You are not going to solve all the functions. You are going to focus only on one aspect. Okay. So you exactly identify the problem which you are proposing to solve. Please remember, a patent is not a PhD thesis. It is not. Actually, a patent is a problem-solving exercise. A patent is got because the problem-solving can give you continued money. I don't know how many of you had seen the movie Waterworld. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, Kevin Costner's movie actually. It's a good movie, and if you do, you will see it free in a lot of places. Waterworld, they spent a lot of money, Hollywood, right? It was not a big commercial success. And people asked, hey man, what happened? You made a movie and it looks like you burnt yourself. And the producers replied, hey man, our collections, we made something like $15 million for the movie we spent. We got something like $17-18 million, which is not, of course, a big profit. But we have got a series of patents relating to underwater photography and equipment that will facilitate better images in television. So this patent will be current for 20 years. In this 20 years period, we hope to make another $200 million. They made it from channels like Discovery, Animal Planet, History Channel, all these things actually. So you have to identify the problem and its commercial applications. How do you propose to solve this problem and how? advantages. In what way they are better than the existing product. Summary of the expansion. Explanation of the drawings. So, very many times when I tell the client, hey man, do all these things. They tell me, sir, if I have to do all these things, why are you charging me so much actually? Then I tell them, if you provide me all these details, I will do the last part, namely, I will drop appropriate claims actually. All right. Take a call on whether you know. This is maybe an important question. Provisional specification, complete specification, because application procedure is very much there actually. Take a call on whether you know everything technical about the invention you seek to patent. If your answer is yes, then straight away file a complete specification. If your answer is maybe, but I guess I can improve on this, and in that case, you file a provisional specification. If you file a provisional specification, within 1 year of launching the provisional specification, you have to launch the complete specification. The difference from the provisional and the complete specification can be seen in this. Okay. The provisional specification simply discloses the nature of the invention. Complete specification particularly describes the invention. Do you see the difference between disclosing the nature and particularly describes the invention and the best manner of performing the invention? Provisional specification doesn't have claims. Complete specifications must have claims. And if you want to claim priority from international application, it should be within first year of filing. And I'll be talking about the international patent. Maybe I will just send you the material. You can read it at your plane. I may not have time to discuss international treaties. Maybe I will just talk about it tomorrow, day after. Actually, I'll send you a proper PowerPoint on that, international treaties. Now, if you are an inventor, okay, if you come up with an invention, there are two things you would like to know. One, how long it will take. Two, how much it will cost. You understand? These are the only two questions that will come to the mind of an inventor. I'll talk about question number one first. And this question number one, I used to answer by a counter question. I asked him, how do you consider yourself as a person? Lucky, unlucky, moderately lucky. Okay. Many will say, sir, you're just not too unlucky, you're moderately lucky. I say, if you are lucky, you file it in United States, a patent application, and if you follow it effectively, you may get it in 2 years. There are patents which have been granted in United States within 1 year. Okay. If you are moderately lucky, you will file it in Europe. You will get a patent anywhere within 3 to 4 years actually. And if you are unlucky, you file it in India. If you get it after 6 years, you are extraordinarily lucky. Okay. That is how the system works, because the human resources are not good enough. And then I tell him you will get it in about 3 to 4 years. Now, then he will ask, oh, it will take that much time. Because nowadays in the market, sometimes the product obsolescence, that is the period within which the product go out of the market, occurs very, very quickly. No one is keeping a Nokia phone today. Even BlackBerry is out. And it will be sometime you will only have OnePlus and Oppo and Apple. That's all actually. Apple is meant for another crowd. Now, I always say it takes about 4 years. Why it takes 4 years? You have to understand. You launch a complete specification. That will be published in the Patent Office Gazette within 15 months. And soon after it is published, you have to request for examination. If you request for examination, Usually, the patent office issues the first examination report within 1 year, and if they issue the first examination report within 1 year, you have to comply with the requirement of the first examination report, and thereafter it will go to grant or refusal, and that will then you will have to pay money for the renewal actually. All right. Now I'll try to cover a little bit of international treaties. India is a member to most of the IPR convention. I will send you a separate PowerPoint today. I may not cover that in class tomorrow, but I still insist that you have a look at it because it will give you an idea of treaties, which is more a matter of description than any great skills actually. All right? It's more of a history and you can read it yourself actually. PCT had simplified the filing of international patent applications around the world. You have to file the PCT application within 1 year of first filing. First filing can either be provisional or complete. Okay. Within 1 year of first filing, soon after lodging complete specification, you have to request for a PCT application. There is no such thing as an international patent today. You will be seeing the words. That is a wrong word. A patent is strictly territorial. It is valid only for the territory for which it has been granted. If I apply for a patent in UK and don't apply for a patent in India, in UK you will get the patent, in India you will not get the patent. Therefore, all people can continue to use the patented technology. Classic illustration is Rubik Cube. I'm sure that many of you would have played the Rubik Cube. The Rubik Cube is an Hungarian patent. Somebody from the East European countries, they took the patent for it. Now, they didn't take a patent for it in India. So many manufacturers, Indian toy manufacturers, started selling Rubik cubes made in India. So therefore, there is nothing that the foreigner could do about it actually. So what I am trying to tell you is, patents are strictly territorial. They are valid only for the territory for which it is granted. That is number one. Number two, patents are, there is something called a safe harbor, blah, 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 all that, and I don't want to go into that. Now, in Indian Patent Office also I talked about request for examination, right? In PCT also, you should ask for ISR. It is called as International Search Report. And you can choose the office, which you can ask it from India, Japan, about 7 or 8 designated international searching authorities. They are described as ISA under the patent. PCT, I told you, does not grant a patent. It simplifies the manner of filing international patent applications. That is what it does. Okay. They'll issue an ISR. In fact, the ISR is chosen depending on the area of invention. Medical invention, American Patent Office. Chemical inventions or automobile inventions, German Patent Office. Software related inventions, American Patent Office. Depending on the area of invention. It can be quick, more number, less number. Telecommunications, European Patent Office. Okay. That's where the technology really began. Now, issuance of ISR. After they issue the ISR, they will give their ISR is about 4 pages long report. They will talk novelty, utility, non-obviousness, and they will not give any opinion on statutory subject matter. The statutory subject matter is a matter for determination by the local patent officers. Now, after you get this ISR, you can carry out amendments also. And then you can again ask for International Preliminary Examination Report. Huh? If the ISR is not favorable to the applicant on the criteria of novelty, utility, non-obviousness, then on professional advice, we carry out amendments and request for International Preliminary Examination Report. So earlier ISR will say no novelty, no utility, no non-obviousness, and I make the amendments and tell the patent office, hey, look at it and give me again an opinion. That is called as International Preliminary Examination Report. But both ISR and IPR are not binding on the National Patent Office, but it will have substantial persuasive value. And after you get it, I told you owning a patent is like owning an elephant. You don't want to, in fact, earlier the patent offices of China and Japan and Spain used to insist on translation. The translation cost will kill you. Now only you have translation softwares, etc., etc. Earlier, a Japanese patent is an impossibility for an Indian patent holder for the simple reason a cost they will be asking per page something like $50 to $100. If you have a 20-page patent, you are talking about $20,000, which is really out of the scope. That's why it's a rich man's game. Owning a patent is like owning an elephant. Okay. So all these things take something like about 24 months. Within 24 months, you have to get into the national pace. So, even before you get into the national pace, the inventor has an idea of what would be the cost. International search report, IPR, or objective third-party evaluation of your specification. They enable you to make an informed decision on patent application. And I think I mentioned you this. Now I will stop here for a moment and go to trademark. Only for trademark and patent, they are talking about filing, application and registration procedure in the syllabi. All other IPR they are not talking, and therefore I am not really going in detail of copyright and things like that. In the trademark office, you make an application. Now, sorry, I'm getting a sneeze, okay. All right. All right. Sorry. Okay. Trademark office, you make an application. You can make an online application here. But before you make an application, you can also get an opinion from the trademark office on the registrability of the mark. For getting a registrability, we trademark attorneys do what is known as a search. It is very easy to do a search now. Earlier, you have to go to the trademark office to do the search or ask them to conduct a search and give you. Now, there is a free database available. You can identify your clause. Okay. In trademark law, laws are goods are goods and services. Under the earlier law, you only had trademark for goods. Services, we did not have. Only in the new law which came into being in 2000, we have goods and services mark. So we have something like 42 clauses under the Indian Trademark Act. Now they cover 35 are in respect of goods and 7 are in respect of services actually. So you have to make sure for yourself in what all clauses that your trademark falls. A trademark is an inclusive definition. You know that in General Clauses Act, there is a difference between inclusive definition and exhaustive definition. Trademark means, if they begin with the expression means, it is considered as an exhaustive definition. If they begin with the expression trademark includes, it is called as an inclusive definition. when you use an inclusive definition, it means it can also cover things which are not specifically identified in the definition. Trademark includes is the word used in this section. Mark, ticket, logo, abbreviation, picture, combination of all these things. It can mean smell, it can mean sound. Believe me, these are called as unconventional trademark, and one can have about a 1.5 hour lecture actually on unconventional trademark. Okay, trademark means we understand a name, a product, a ticket, a logo, an abbreviation, picture and abbreviation, picture and logo. You understand? These are the different things actually. Uh, Whereas uh, Windows, when it opens, you have that, what do you call that, four squares coming up with music, right? And somebody got a tire that will smell like jasmine or rose. This was very particularly in African market, you know. They can't read and they can't distinguish actually between pictures which they have not seen. So they will simply make a product, a tire, which will smell like jasmine. The lorry driver in Africa goes there, smells it. Color can be a subject matter of a trademark. You know, Viagra, Pfizer tried to get a blue diamond shape. I think I talked about that yesterday actually. All right. So after you make an application, you do this search using all these things. You make an application. The trademark office gives you what is known as a first examination report. In the first examination report, there will be objections. And if you comply with the objection, they will accept your application for advertisement in the trademark office gazette. Now, it will be there for about 3 months. Within 3 months of the date of publication, anybody can lodge an opposition to the grant of the trademark. And if there is an opposition, the applicant will be notified and he will be given an opportunity to give additional evidence, and the opponent can also say it. Then it becomes a judicial proceeding actually. Okay, this is the, if you are lucky, nowadays it is possible for you to get a what do you trademark done anywhere between 1 to trademark infringement and passing of remedies. Actually, I have done that actually. Fair enough. Okay. Now, please remember that Indian Patent Act has got 4 safeguards. This may be important from the point of view of examination. They are only talking about the patenting procedure. Opposition is definitely part of patenting procedure. Therefore, I am covering it because there is no country in the world that has 4 safeguards against a bad patent. Other countries do have, but not so much like India. In fact, many of the countries in Europe adopted it from the Indian pattern actually. I mean, in that way, I must tell you, there are 3 major patent systems around the world. The first system is the most liberal system. This is prevalent in United States, Israel and Japan. As per this system, anything under sun which is capable of improvement by human effort and which is commercially applicable is a subject matter of a patent. Somebody came up with a new organism. I am sure you may know the case of Anand Chakrabarti versus US Chakrabarti versus Chakrabarti is the name of the inventor. Okay. Fine. This man came up with a bacterium, genetically manipulated bacterium. The bacteria did not exist in the world before he came up with that. That will heat up oil spills. Okay. This was the first patent on life. You create a new life, and over that new life form, you take a patent. And this created a lot of debate as to whether a life, newly created life, can be a valid subject matter for patenting. And thereafter, there have been a series of patents. If you have Google OncoMouse, ONCOMOUSC, Harvard Medical School got a patent for this OncoMouse and made a lot of money for it. The OncoMouse was patentable only in US. In India and Singapore, they will not grant a patent because you are patenting a life form. Today you are asking for a patent for a mouse. Tomorrow you will ask for a patent for a superhuman who will have immunity against all diseases, intelligent quotient of 150, plays cricket like Sachin Tendulkar, and does music like A.R. Rahman, all in one person, right? They are talking about a superhuman. It's possible scientifically. Anyway, that is the first system, American system. Virtually no restrictions on what you can patent or what you cannot. The second is European system. Okay. In the European system, anything which is capable of improvement by human effort, which is not really opposed to our public policy, ordre public and morality. I don't know if you know this, date drugs. You must have heard about it. We are all adults. We are not, I'm not teaching to an LLB class where the average age group is less than 21. I have to be a little more careful in such scenarios. You know, the date drug is something. A girl wants to go out for a date. The boy takes her. The girl just wants to spend some time in the restaurant. The boy wants something more. Probably a little sex. The girl is not willing. So what the boy does is, you must have seen in movies, there's a drug and a pill is put. And thereafter the person just, this issue came up for consideration before a European patent office, whether there should be patents for such drugs at all. Okay. Ordre public, morality. Okay. Now the European Patent Office considered this and found that all sexually fertile, productive women at some point of time in their life undergoes sexual frigidity, and for them it is a good drug, and notwithstanding objection, this patent was granted. The third is the Indian patent system. Pakistan follows us here in our system. Nobody else in the world follows us actually. Pakistan, Thailand, South Africa, they all are willing to accept the Indian position, where we grant a patent, and there is section 3. I have not been discussing this section 3 in detail because there is not much of a clause. In fact, in a typical patent law, I do about 6 to 7 hours for those who opt for patent actually. Anyway, patent specification writing is a course. Not many people take because it is very difficult, and I told you patenting is 85% science and technology, just 15% law. Okay. And I'm not really... No, in India what the section 3 does is, the section 3 says, if some invention is very useful for Indian economy and sociology, we will not grant you patent. That's what is section 3. Actually, this is wrong. I'm not saying the entire section 3 is wrong, and I will definitely send you some PowerPoints on that and have a look at it at leisure. I am covering well enough for your, UGC examination. But if you have to take the patent agent examination, probably you have to read that section 3 in detail. And for you to take the patent agent examination, you must be a science graduate, and that issue is pending before the Madras High Court, and I don't want to get into all those things. Okay, see, these guys are very weird fellows actually. Innocent infringers. Innocent infringers are characters. They come up with something, they start working at it, and then they realize someone had already taken a patent for it. And please remember, innocent infringer is also duty bound to pay what is known as the statutory minimum damages. And the statutory minimum damages are roughly comparable to the voluntary licenses royalty that the patentee gets from his own licensees. Okay? Plus, the innocent infringer will have to pay the cost of the suit. So, it will roughly work to about 1.5 times of the royalty that the patentee would have got from a normal person. But usually, in reality, we don't want innocent infringers. So what we do is, we issue him a legal notice. And once we issue a legal notice, the infringer is no more innocent. The second is a willful or an intentional infringer. First he will infringe Apple, they will sue and get an injunction. Then he will give up infringing Apple, and he will go to Oppo, OnePlus phones for them to continue to infringe. The history of the infringer will sometimes enable us to understand whether he is a willful or intentional infringer. These intentional infringers will be asked to pay triple or multiple damages. In India, it's normally 4 times. Okay. Contributory infringer. Who is this guy? For example, this contributory infringers, you have more in the pharma industry. You will have a final product, and the final product will be made by using 2 intermediate products. The final product may be covered by the patent, and the intermediate product may be off the patent. You make only the intermediate product, and the intermediate products have no market in the industry. There is no market. The only market is for making the patented product. Okay. Now I make something which I don't infringe the patent myself, give it to somebody, and then that guy uses it. This is called a contributory infringer. Okay, you have more of them in US. And inducing infringers. Once General Electric Company was caught. Maybe I'll give you some more material, but I have lots of it, and I don't want to. But I do think that among the portions you have, Unit 9, Intellectual Property, Unit 1, Constitutional and Administrative Law, Unit 3, Public International Law, Unit 5, Law of Tort, and Unit 6, Commercial Law will have more questions. Okay, so therefore I would like to spend, and this is one of my core area of competence. If you are going to get 10 or 15 questions, 10 questions at least, you will get from IPR as I see it. You may get more if you add the cyber crimes and the IT Act in the IP Act. Okay, so therefore this is my core area of competence. So therefore I'll have to ensure that you have better skills in so that you score at least 8 out of 10. Then if you score more than 50 marks in the paper 2, and if you keep the 50 in the paper 1, you are through the UGC exam. Okay, that is how I look at it, and therefore let me focus on my core area of competence and devise the teaching plan for you people actually. And and I have plenty of it. And please do ask me questions. Write me questions the previous day, the next day. I would love to address that actually. Okay. Now, this guy is an inducing infringer. I told this about GE. I'll send you some cases on that. I'll send you one. Nalsar course material is there, and I think many of it is free source. Anyway, chalo. Okay. This inducing infringer is, once what he will do. Somebody will tell the rest of the world, I have a patent, so don't use it. And this guy will say, hey, You have a patent, but that's a bad patent. Okay? So I intend challenging it. And I will tell the rest of the world that your patent is a bad patent. Anyone are free to use it. In fact, there is one technology, and please read it. This will give you an idea. Phonar Corporation versus General Electric. Phonar Corporation versus General Electric. Just have a look at it, and infringement is very much there in your syllabi. But I don't think our guys who set the question papers may know this authority, so therefore forget it. Who knows? Phonar Corporation versus General Electric. General Electric went on telling people the Phonar's patent is a bad patent. And that patent related to the NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance, whatever machine it is, which gives you images of the body parts after shoving the patient into that funny looking machine. Okay, they had to really pay a lot of money. They induced inventors. And there is another guy called irritating infringer. These are called as the de minimis infringer. How many of you know this concept, de minimis? Can I have some answers? Hello? I'm muting myself and I am opening all of you. Do you know what is a de minimis? Nivedita? Put the Nivedita. Do you know what is a de minimis? Somebody is, Amar Anand is saying no. Praveen is not there today.
He's there.
Gayatri is there. Any question? Any answer? De minimis non curate lex. Have you heard of that?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
So that's when you have a very small number of particles which in the scope of a case. Then
Okay, Lakshmi is saying it, Lakshmi Priya is saying it, I get that. Got it. See, actually, please look up, I think it is section 93 of the Indian Penal Code. Okay, I'm muting everybody. But this has got an application in patent law also. It's actually a criminal law principle. For example, I am walking in the road. Okay? Huh? Yeah, it's a criminal law principle. Oh, there's a kid, okay. Fine. You're fine, you're welcome. Nice. Welcome to our class, dear. You're getting exposed to patent law earlier. Very good. No issue. Okay, good. All right. These de minimis fellow are weird fellows here. For example, you have a house. In the house, you have a neem tree. And during Yugadi festival, you neem tree and a mango tree. Somebody comes to your house and takes away neem flowers and mango leaves. Is he committing an offense? Strictly speaking, yes. Trespass, criminal trespass. He comes to my house without my permission. 2, he removes mango leaves and neem flowers, which are my properties, without my consent. It is theft. But if I go and lodge a complaint with the police officer, that fellow will look at me and ask me, bloody fool, you think we have no other work than this? It is theoretically an offense. Okay. Many times, what the compounder in the pharmacy may do a bit of a de minimis infringement. He can come up with a patented product with commonly available, old compounders, if you go for doctors earlier, the doctor will give a mixture. Do you remember? Okay. Very many times, these mixtures were part of the de minimis infringement. The commercial scale, okay, is not so much for you to do that. So that is why I call these guys as irritating infringers. Okay. We know that this guy is infringing our patent, but there is nothing much. De minimis means law does not take into consideration trivialities. Okay? If the loss that you suffer is something very, very small or nominal, you should not go to, what do you call? There are two types of infringement. One is direct and literal infringement. The other is infringement by equivalence. See, infringers nowadays are all a bunch of smart people here. They infringe in such a way that it will look as if they are made by a different process. The product they have is a different product. Okay. Now, these guys are very intelligent. Now, these intelligent guys, we try to do it by infringement by equivalence, and there are few cases on that. And surely I'll send some more PowerPoints on the topic which will make you understand. But the point I was trying to impress upon here is there is only one thing among the syllabi. Two more things are in the IPR. One is biodiversity and the traditional knowledge. Okay, I have indicated you in the morning that this biodiversity, they have not put plant varieties protection here. That's why our syllabi is not to be desired. Never mind, and I am not complaining the syllabi. Biodiversity is a very abstract topic. It will be only thing you must know is Rio de Janeiro Declaration. Okay. One question they may ask is Rio de Janeiro Convention relates to biodiversity, protection of plant varieties, patenting. So, blame it on Rio. Okay. That is the only thing you need to know about biodiversity. And I very strongly recommend that you read my blogs. I have given you the links of my blog. I have written one blog on Seemai Karuvelam. It was a big issue in Tamil Nadu. The people who have been following it from Tamil Nadu will understand. But the other people, I very strongly recommend you read my blog. It talks, and there is one more blog I have written, namely the dog problem in Kerala. Okay, the ferocious dogs of Kerala actually. These two will give you a little right on that. And traditional knowledge, I don't know, sometimes our syllabi compels us to learn a lot of wrong things, and this is one of them. Please remember, there is a movement for protecting, this biodiversity is important. One more question they may ask in biodiversity is a concept called benefit sharing. Please remember that, and the only question that may come from biodiversity is Biodiversity Convention. Where was it? Rio de Janeiro. That is a place they may ask. And the other one is, what is benefit sharing? For example, I am coming up with a new plant. I come up with this new plant in a American laboratory. The basic material I have taken is mango plant. Let's take mango. It has got a big international market. The biological name for mango is Mangifera indica. Okay. But today Japan produces the best mangoes in the world. Do you know that? Okay. Japan, each of these Japanese mangoes cost you something like $15. And you must see the way they are grown. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. It's not the mango tree. The tree is never more than 3 feet because harvesting becomes very difficult if they are tall trees actually. And no mango is touched by any human, Please Google, YouTube and see this Japanese mango. One mango costs something like $15 actually. Now in such situation, the original genetic material, obviously if you look at the biological name of mango, it's Mangifera indica, right? And the genetic material came from India. So what the government of India in the Biodiversity Act says is, hey, you may have a new plant variety under the Plant Varieties Protection Act. In such cases, give us the benefit sharing charges. In other words, the communities which are responsible for preserving the germ blossom of various. In fact, let me tell you yet another bad joke which I made, which is not particularly a nice joke. I'll tell you why. Biodiversity, I'll just discuss for about 10 minutes and then 5 minutes, and traditional knowledge 5 minutes, and I'm going to finish the class exactly at 1:30 actually. Isn't it?
Yes.
1:15 means 12:10 we started, and 12:25 we must finish. Saturday, Sunday classes are just 1 hour and 15 minutes, not 1 hour and 30 minutes as we have tomorrow onwards actually. I was talking to you about this benefit sharing, right? And I was talking to you about the Japanese mango. And the Japanese mango is wonderful, and it is, I have not tried it because you can't, but when I saw it, must have been something extraordinary. Okay, this biodiversity talks about preservation of germ blossom. That was the issue I was. The germ blossom for the new variety, whichever community has got a, for example, people from Kerala will know. There's something like Arogya Pachai. Kanika community is a Kerala tribe. If somebody comes up with a product, a new variety from this Arogya Pachai, that community will have to be identified as a benefit sharing community. And traditional knowledge protection. Okay. Actually, there is nothing. There is no law on the point. I don't know why they have introduced it in the first place. And this is more a knee-jerk impulsive reaction. I say it because I am also a lawyer who was involved in protecting the rights of the grassroots innovators whose inventions and their contribution for the technological development is not recognized. I am aware of it, but then I think you can safely ignore this traditional knowledge part. Maybe you just Google it and read it. I don't want to deny you anything. And